Today, guys, we're going to talk about the law of cosines. We just went over the law of sines. But there are some situations where you cannot use the law of sines to find all the missing angles and missing sides of a triangle. So what we're going to do, all right, is we have all of these three formulas here. We're going to use them. I want you to focus in on problem number 1, okay, the law of cosines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the best I can to kind of recreate our triangle right here. I'm going to make a really long, our longest side. All right, there's our longest side. I'm going to call that 28. That's lowercase c. Then I'll make another side that's not quite as long. All right, and then our shortest side right there. So right here we have 28. We have a right here. We'll call a equal to 20, and lowercase b is equal to 12. Now, I just drew this triangle. This is kind of just estimating some lengths right here. But I do need to make sure I put the capital C across from lowercase c, capital A across from lowercase a, and capital B across from lowercase b. So we're going to use the law of cosines to find all of these missing angles, because we actually have all the sides. So when it says solve the triangle, that means I want you to find all 3 angle measures and all 3 lengths of sides. I know, so we're like halfway done. Woohoo! 20, 12, 28. Now, we are going to start this problem by finding the measure of angle A. Right in here. We're going to find the measure of angle A. If I wanted to find the measure of angle A, I'm going to use the law of cosine to find it. I'm going to write a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of angle A. So we're going to use this formula right here. Just so you know, this lowercase c right here represents the side. This right here represents the cosine. Okay? So make sure you know that I'm not doing b times c times c times o times s. Okay? It's bc times cosine. So right now, we're going to plug in our numbers. We're going to plug in a squared, which is 20 squared. We're going to plug in b squared, which is 12 squared. C squared, which is 28 minus 2 times the value of b, which is 12, times the value of c, which is 28, times the cosine of A. So the first thing is just simply plug in the numbers correctly where they go. All right, now I'm going to highlight some things that we need to do independently or separately from each other. I need to do this right here by itself. I need to do this. Oh, my board's resetting. I need to do the 12 squared plus the 28 squared by itself. That's what I'm going to try to highlight once my board lets me.
You see the board on the thing.
Oh, hold on. 12 squared plus 28 squared. We're going to do that separately. And then we're going to do negative 2 times 12 times 28 separately. So I'm going to have an answer in blue, an answer in red, and an answer in green. The blue answer is pretty easy. That's just going to be 400 equals 12 squared plus 28 squared. What do you have? 928 with 928. That's what 12 squared plus 28 squared is. Now, negative 2 times 12 times 28. You get negative what? 672? 672 times the cosine of A. Alright, this is where you got to be careful. You cannot combine the 928 minus 672 times the cosine of A because that negative 672 is being multiplied by the cosine of A. So the next step that you would have to do is you would need to take away 928 from this side and take away 928 from the other side of the equal sign. All right, here we go. 400 minus 928, what was that?
Negative 528.
Negative 528 is correct. Now that is going to equal, this right here zeroes out, that's going to equal a negative 672, and that's being what? Multiplied to the cosine of the angle that we're looking for. Now here's the cool thing. If you guys see a negative here and a negative here, eventually those negatives will cancel each other out. Okay? So what we're going to do next is I'm simply going to divide this side by 672, and I'm going to divide this side by 672. Let's think about what we have. These will cancel to a 1, and you will have the cosine of capital A equals the fraction of 528 over 672. Now this is where you guys need to apply the inverse of cosine. So my final answer, everybody, I have to take this side and multiply it by the what? Multiply it by the inverse of cosine. What happens? These will cancel out, and your final answer for angle A will be the inverse of cosine times 672. And that will give us an approximate value. So I'm going to go and turn my graphing calculator on. All right. So here we go. Now that we have the calculator going, all right, I'm going to hit second cosine. And what number am I going to put in the numerator?
528.
528 divided by
672.
672.
Close parentheses.
Enter. And what do we get? 38 point.
36.
All right, so it's about 38.2. We'll round to the nearest 10.2 degrees. So right here, for your answer, right here, for angle A, I'm going to write, we have a 38.2 degree angle. That's the angle for the measure of angle A.
Can we actually use the other trick?
You could. Now that you have one, technically now you could use the law of sines to find the measure of another angle. Well, we're just going to practice the law of cosines one more time so you get better at the process. But yes, once you have the measure of one, now you can use the law of sines to find everything else. So let's go and do B. All right, so we go over here. You have all the numbers for B. I'm going to write B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of capital B. What is my B value that we're squaring? What is it? 12. Put 12 squared. My A squared was what? 20 squared. And my C squared was 28. Minus 2 times A, which is 20. Times the cosine of capital B. Now once again, we have to do what? We have to separate it into what? 3 different parts. We have to know how to get this together. So right now, 12 squared is 144. 20 squared plus 28 squared, what do you get? 20 squared plus 28 squared. About 1,000. All right, 1,184. Minus 2 times 20 times 28. What is that? 2 times 20. 20. What you get? 120. All right, 1,120. We're going to be multiplying that times the what? Times the cosine of B. All right. So once again, what do we have to do? We need to take away the 1184 from this side and take away 1,184 from this side. All right. See what we get. What is 144 minus 1184?
Negative 1040.
Negative 1040. All right. Negative 1,040. And that is equal, everybody. That's right. Times the cosine of Now, once again, what do we notice about both sides of the equal sign? They have negatives, which means that'll cancel to a positive. Well, what if we only had one negative? Then our answer is going to be a negative, right? What are we going to divide both sides by? That's right.
So the cosine of B equals
The cosine,
over
1040 over. Now, what's the final step?
The inverse.
That's right. So we're going to put B equals the inverse of cosine 1040 over 1120. And that will give us our final approximate answer.
So 21.8.
And 1040 divided by 1120. All right. And voila, we get 21.8 degrees. That's right, 21.8 degrees. We're going to go up here. For B, now, listen, once you get two angles, you don't have to do any hard work anymore.
Because you gotta add them and subtract it from 1.
That's right, add these together, subtract them from 180, and what do you get? 120 degrees. And we just solved for that whole triangle. And guess what? How many angles did we start with? How many did they give us?
0.
0. That's when you use the law of cosines. You use the law of cosines when you're given all three sides and they don't give you any angles. That's one situation where you use the law of cosines. Okay? We'll talk about the next situation in the next video. Go over the law of cosines. When do you use the other?
So you're gonna do another video?
Not today.
We don't have enough time.
No, we have time. We can't do it in 3